Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel for the third episode in the current series that I'm doing within Train Sim World 2. So for this episode I wanted to head over to Germany to cover one of the routes that comes with the base Train Sim World 2 game, which is the Schnellfahrstrecke Köln to Aachen route. I do apologise if my German pronunciation's a bit off. I'm going to attempt it in this video as we pass through different stations, but I'll also put the subtitles up for the stations to correct my potentially horrendous pronunciation. So Cologne is of course the city we know as Cologne in English, and I'm going to be driving in an ICE for those who'd like to recreate the service. In timetable mode, then just drive ICE 315, which is the 1340 to Frankfurt Main Hauptbahnhof. Though of course the route is only simulated as far as Cologne within the game. So this is going to be a high-speed non-stop service all of the way to Cologne, and the total journey distance is around 70 kilometers. The train that I'm driving on this journey is of course the ICE3 high-speed electric multiple unit in service with Deutsche Bahn. There's actually three subclasses of ICE3, the BR403, which is the ICE3, the BR406, which is the ICE3M for Mike, and the BR407, which is the new ICE3, or the Siemens Velero D. So I'm driving specifically the BR406, which is the ICE3M. They have been in service since 1999 and were manufactured by Siemens. There's a total of 50 original ICE3s in service with 17 ICE3Ms, and there's also going to be a further 17 Velero D ICE3s. So these units are formed of 8 coaches per train, and they have a maximum in-service speed of 320 kilometers per hour, which is around 200 miles per hour, though the maximum speed that we're going to get up to on this journey today is 250 kilometers per hour, which is around 155 miles per hour or thereabouts. So the weight of each unit is 435 tonnes with a power output of 8,000 kilowatts, which is around 11,000 horsepower. They have a maximum tractive effort of 300 kilonewtons, which is around 67,000 pounds of force, and they run on the 15 kilovolt 16.7 Hz AC overhead electrification system, which is found throughout Germany. I've now jumped into the cab of the ICE3 to set up the train ready for departure. So the first thing that you have to do is you need to go to the box where the battery control is to turn that on. So I'm just going to press the right arrow key to follow around the cab, and this box is actually just behind the driver's seat here. So if I open this cabinet now by clicking on it, we'll just have a look at the controls. Right at the bottom there you can see the battery control. So what you need to do is just click on it and drag it to the left to the ein or on position, and now we need to hold it there for about 5 seconds just to make sure that the battery's on. Okay, so that should be done now, and now we've done that, I'm going to set up the safety system. So here you can see we've got LZB, I'm just going to turn that, PZB, and CIFA. So the LZB system is the signalling system we use on the higher speed sections of the route. The PZB system is the standard German signalling system, and the CIFA system is effectively like the driver safety device. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about the signalling systems well, should I say within Germany in this video, because I have previously made a guide to German signals, and I'm going to post a link to that in the description of this video. It was recorded within Train Simulator, and of course the rules still apply just as much within Train Sim World as they did within Train Simulator. So now that I've done that, we need to go over to this side of the cab, and you can just see the red switch there, which is the reversing handle. So I'm just going to put that into the forward position, and now we need to put the pantograph up. So we've got some switches here towards the left of the screen, and you can see one there that's got sort of 3 notches next to it with various lines. So I'm just going to put that upwards, and now you can see on the computer screen just to the right the display turned blue, indicating that the pantograph is now connected to the power. And now we need to close the main circuit breaker by clicking on this switch here. And that's actually set up the train to be able to move at this point. But now what we're going to do is set up the departure board so that the train, should I say the destination board, so that the train is showing the correct destination from the outside. And we're also going to set up the AFB system, which is the cruise control system within this train. So to set up the destination display, you need to click on the UD, which is just above the computer screen here, and press that twice until we get to this grey screen that looks like a possibly an old Windows 95 screen or something there. And now if you press the E key, we now need to change the destination. So you can see to the left in the middle there's two boxes. The bottom one says nicht einsteigen, which I believe is something like not in service, and that's what it's currently saying on the outside of the train. So if you press the left arrow here just below the C button 3 times, you can now see it says Frankfurt Main Hauptbahnhof, which is our destination. So if you now press the E key, that now puts it into the bottom of the 2 boxes in the middle there, and that now shows us that on the outside of the train it will be showing our destination as Frankfurt. So now I want to set up the AFB system, so I'm going to press UD, and now you can see at the bottom of the screen there towards the right there's it says AFB in one of the boxes. So if you click on the number below that, number 9, we now get the AFB screen, and this is just giving us different options for speeds that we'd like the system to hold the train at, and the one that you want it to be is Wie soll Freigabe, which again I probably pronounced horribly. If you press number 6, AFB. We've now turned on the RFB system, and so we've now got the cruise control in operation. So we need to manually operate the cruise control whilst we're under PZB signalling, but once we're under LZB it acts more like an autopilot system, and in fact the LZB system will control our speed changes whilst we're under LZB signalling. So if you look in front of us here, you can see the speedometer to the right hand side measured in kilometers per hour. Now I know that the starting speed limit here is going to be 40, so I'm just going to press the R key, and that just increases the AFB cruise control system, and I've just increased it to the 40 position so that we won't increase in speed above that. So yeah, to adjust the AFB system, then you just press R to increase the speed and press F to decrease the speed. Just in the middle there you can see the LZB display, which currently isn't on, and we've got all of the signalling displays in the buttons below that. But as I said, please check my German signalling guide for more information about how the signalling system works. Just to the left there we've got sort of the traction and braking effort display. So as we accelerate, that needle will move towards the right, and the higher that needle is pointing, then the more power is being applied and the higher our acceleration. And of course conversely, as that needle moves away from 0 to the left, that indicates that we're braking, and the harder we're braking, then the further that needle will be to the left. Personally, when I'm braking this train, I try not to take it above about 50, so it's sort of like about halfway to its maximum position. So we have now set up the train ready for departure away from Aachen. I'm now just going to take a quick look outside the train and get ready to depart. Departing away from Aachen, the speed limit here is 40 kilometers per hour, as I mentioned during the cab setup a moment ago, and we've got around 70 kilometers or 44 miles to go to our next and only stop on this journey, which is Cologne. As you can see at present, the 70 and 85 lamps of the PZB system are illuminating alternately, indicating that we're under restricted monitoring and I can't go above 45 kilometers per hour. However, as the signals are clear, I'm going to press the end key, or PZB free key, to take us out of restricted monitoring. And we've just passed the 10 post there, indicating that the speed limit is now going up to 100 kilometers per hour. In Germany, whenever you see a speed post, times the number by 10, and that's the actual speed limit. So I'm just going to cut the power back a little as I increase the AFB control now. Can accelerate there just as we approach the green signal gantry. So I cut the power back to ensure there wasn't too much of a jolt as I increased the cruise control setting towards 100 kilometers per hour. Now I can accelerate up towards the new speed limit. So I'm actually trying a different recording method for this video, whereas previously I noticed on the East Coast Way video The video seemed a lot more laggy and jerky than I was actually seeing when recording, and I was recording it at 30 frames a second. So for this video I'm actually recording it at 60 frames a second, and whilst the game isn't giving me a stable 60, I'm hoping that it will look smoother in the final product than the previous video did. So please let me know if you can notice the difference in the video comments. We're now coming up on the first station out of Aachen, which is Aachen Roter Erde. Immediately as we reach the end of the platform here, the speed limit is going up to 120 kilometers per hour. I'm going to accelerate as we enter the next left-hand curve. In a moment now we're going to reach a further increase in the speed limit to 140 kilometers per hour, which is around 87 miles per hour. So now passing the 140 speed posts. As always, wait until about 4 gantries have passed, and that's roughly the length of an 8-coach ICE 3. We're now coming up on the second station out of Aachen, which is Eilendorf. So now coming up on 2 tunnels, and once we've passed through the 2 tunnels, the next landmark I'll be looking out for is actually a speed warning for a reduction in the speed down towards 120 kilometers per hour. That 120 limit is roughly 2.8 kilometers beyond the end of the second tunnel. So yeah, with this route, when you're driving from Aachen towards Cologne, you're actually starting on a much more conventional mainline railway. And then about halfway along the route, we then become a high-speed mainline railway as we enter LZB control. Whilst we're under PZB signalling on conventional lines in Germany, the maximum speed limit is 160 kilometers per hour, or 100 miles per hour. But when you're under LZB, you can then go at much higher speeds. So we're just coming up on the 120 warning now, so I've just shut off the power. I'm going to brake just a little bit after the speed post there. Roughly there's about 1 kilometre between the speed warning and the speed restriction itself. I've got the brakes on now quite lightly. I'm using 3 steps of braking at present. We're now down to around 120 kilometers per hour, so I'm just going to cut the speed set to that as well. So the AFB is now set to 120. We're now coming up on the third station out of Aachen, which is Stolberg. And we're now passing a warning for an upcoming 110 speed limit. So I've just cut off the power to allow the train to coast, and I'll apply the brakes very lightly as we approach the next signal. So we're now down to 110 kilometers per hour in time, which is around 68 miles per hour. I just wanted to take this opportunity just to say thank you for everyone who's come back to my channel to watch my new videos. So I've put up 2 videos already in the last few days, and this will be the 3rd, as I mentioned earlier. But I was really quite surprised at the response I got after 2 years away from YouTube, and just how many people seem to be happy to be seeing more episodes. So I'm hoping to make a good few more videos yet, then we'll see how it goes and for how long I'm back on YouTube. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for all of the feedback. I don't really have time to reply to all of the comments personally, but I do read them all and they do mean a lot, so thank you again. So we're now coming up on a short tunnel. Just beyond the short tunnel here, we're going to go through another station, the 4th station out of Aachen, which is Eschweiler. And as we pass through this station, we've got 1 kilometre to go to an increase in the speed limit to 160 kilometres per hour. Speed limit's now going up to 160, so I'm going to accelerate just as we approach this upcoming signal. And the speed limit's now going to remain at 160 or 100 miles per hour right up until we enter the LZB zone now. So now coming up on the site of what appears to be a closed station. I'm not sure what this station was, but yeah, I was wondering if anyone knows anything about it. Please let me know in the comments, because I'd love to know what that station was. We're now coming up on Langerwehr station with around 30 miles to go, or 48 kilometres to go to Cologne. We're now about to enter quite a long, dead straight section of track, and then as we reach the next left-hand curve, it's actually on that curve that the LZB section begins. I will say, having driven this ICE3 a few times now, that I prefer the way it handles in Train Sim World 2 compared to Train Simulator. It actually feels a bit less arcadey and a bit more realistic. I'm sure that there's some issues with it compared to real life, but I definitely prefer this to the train simulator version. Something else I'd point out is that with this route, of course, the high-speed route is not the only driving option. And of course, you could drive freight, or you could drive a stopping passenger service, which gives you a completely different driving experience. And so actually, in the future, I would like to make a video driving back the other way from Cologne to Aachen in a stopping service, maybe in a 442 Talent or something like that. We're now coming up on the left-hand curve that I mentioned earlier, so there will be a sign to the right of the track on a post saying LZB, and at that point you'll hear a noise in the cab and then the LZB system will start. At that point I'll actually increase the cruise control lever to the maximum, because the LZB system won't allow you to exceed the speed limit at any point. So here comes the LZB sign now. So the LZB system has now activated. Now if I increase the speed set, as you can see the red bug on the outside of the speedometer isn't moving, so it just allows the train to now automatically manage the speed. At this point it's like a plane in autopilot, and in fact all I need to do for now is just press the Q key to reset the CFA system every time the alarm comes on. Another indicator that we're running under LZB is there's actually a wire on the track now that you can just see if you look carefully. I know it's quite dark there and it's difficult to see it. Just passed through Düren station, and just before we entered the platform there, the speed limit jumped to 200 kilometers per hour, so the train's automatically increasing speed towards that now. 200 kilometers per hour is around 125 miles per hour. There'll be a further increase in speed in a moment to the maximum speed on this route of 250 kilometers per hour at around kilometer post 35.8. The speed here is now increasing to 250 kilometers per hour. And you can see the red bug on the speedometer has now jumped, so the AFB is now accelerating us towards the new speed. We're now coming up on Metternich station. So you just heard the noise there of the AFB system, and you can see that actually in the speedometer there's 3 zeros. That indicates that there is in fact a red danger signal further up. The train will actually manage the speed to slow down for the signal, so I don't have to worry about that. And also you can see where it says 9,900 and that number isn't going down. That indicates that it's more than 9,900 meters to that red signal. As that number starts going down, you'll then see as we're getting closer, that's measuring our distance to the signal in meters. We're now doing about 250 kilometers per hour or 155 miles per hour. Passing the site of BR station. So you can see now that the distance indicators started counting down towards the adverse signal ahead. So as we get closer, there's a braking curve as such programmed into the system to slow us down for a stop before a red signal. But as the signals clear ahead and another section clears, then actually you'll see the red bug on the speedometer keep jumping depending upon what's going on ahead. So it is going to start controlling our speed soon to slow us down a bit due to the adverse signal. But it's also going to try and do its best to keep us going, so we don't have to come to a complete stop. And you can see now that our speed is just starting to come off. The system is in fact applying the brakes, and the red bug is moving on the outside of the speedometer to start slowing us down for that signal. Our signal cleared ahead, so it allowed us to accelerate for a moment, just a little bit. And now you can see that the power gauge there, it's going to show us braking again in a moment. So this is going to keep happening for a while on this journey. We're going to be following another train for a little while, but we might get stopped at a red signal a bit further up. We're now passing Zindorf station. So we slowed right down to 150 kilometers per hour there, and then the signal cleared for the next section, and the distance jumped up again. Once we get below 4,000 meters, the numbers you'll notice actually go out, and you can see there's a bar there, a lit up bar that gradually goes down. If I just zoom in on it for a moment. And so as we get closer, that bar goes down towards 0, and of course 0 would be right at the signal itself. Trying to get the screen back there to where we were before. We're now passing Horem station. You can see the bars going down, and we're being slowed right down again. Hopefully the signal will clear in a moment and we'll be able to accelerate a bit more, like's just happened there. We're now coming up on Frechen-Königsdorf station. Got around 7.5 miles to go to Cologne Hauptbahnhof. The next station we're coming up on in a moment is Cologne Wieden West. The next station we're coming up on is Löwenich station, with around 8.5 kilometres to go and around 4 kilometres to an upcoming 160 km/h speed restriction. Sorry, correction, I said 8.5, I meant closer to 9.5 kilometres. At this point we've got around 4 kilometres to go to an upcoming 160 km/h speed limit. But of course, we are still running against adverse signals, so we may well get stopped yet. We're now passing the site of Cologne-Mungersdorf station. At this point, if we were slowing for a 160 speed restriction, which of course would be managed by the LZB, we would be 300 metres from the speed restriction itself. But right now we're being slowed right down for an upcoming red signal. As you can see, we're now below 100 km/h and continuing to slow down. And we're around 1 kilometre from the signal itself at this point. And the train should now slow down gently and smoothly to bring us to a smooth stop before the signal, unless the signal changes before we get to it, at which point the train will start accelerating again. I should note at this point that whilst the system will automatically stop you at a red signal, when the signal changes, at that point you have to manually start the train moving again yourself. And at this point, whilst the throttle isn't actually in effect, I'm shutting off the throttle control now so I can manually start the train moving again once the signal clears. And so we're coming to a smooth stop now, right in front of the signal. So we're accelerating, well, we were accelerating, but now we've got another adverse signal ahead, so it's just bringing our speed back off again. We're now coming up on Cologne Ehrenfeld station with just over 2 miles to go to Cologne Hauptbahnhof. So we will soon be reaching the end of the LZB section. At that point you have to press the PZB free key, not the PZB acknowledge key as I used to do. And so that's the end key on the keyboard. If you press that as the end yellow lamp lights up on the dashboard, as you'll see in a moment, and that will just ensure that you don't get an emergency stop. There we are, so the end light just lit up and you heard Zugbeeinflussung. At that point I pressed the end key on the keyboard just to acknowledge that we're reaching the end of LZB, though we are still under LZB control for a moment, as the speed limit here has just dropped to 70 kilometers per hour and LZB has slowed us down for that. The next speed change will be a further reduction down to 60 kilometers per hour. As you reach the end of LZB, I do recommend making sure that you're not in full throttle, especially if you've got the AFB control set right up, because if you do so, you're just going to start flying away and accelerating very rapidly. So we just passed a warning for the upcoming 60 speed restriction. I'm just going to brake lightly now to bring us down to that. In fact, I'm not going to use AFB for speed control as we enter Cologne here. I'm just going to control the speed manually for now. So I gently slowed us down to 60 kilometers per hour. LZB has now ended and we are now under PZB once again. So the speed limit here is now 60. I'm just using some light braking to control the speed there, as it seemed like we might be on a slight downward gradient. The next speed change is a drop in the speed limit down to 40 kilometers per hour. So I'm just going to brake now. As you cross those points there that we just crossed onto this track, I recommend braking at that point just slightly. So I'm just using a step 3 brake there, just to bring your speed down to 40. You want to be down to 40 by the time you're at the signal, the green signal that you can see coming up just ahead. Although of course it might not be green for you if you were driving a different journey. And we're now down to 40 kilometers per hour, which is the correct speed for entering Cologne Hauptbahnhof. As you can see, Cologne is certainly a very big station here. And just to say, Hauptbahnhof, I believe it means central or main station in German. I wasn't sure of the exact stopping point here at Cologne, so I'm just going to stop as we get towards the end of the route. In this case, probably parallel to the talent unit to the right of us, though of course that might not be there on a different journey. Yeah, so sort of stop on this left-hand curve here. We're now coming to stop in just about the right place, just increasing the braking a bit. And just reducing now, just to bring us to a nice smooth stop. And here we are, arrival at Cologne. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you for returning to my channel and watching the new episodes that I'm making. If you'd like to follow me on Facebook, then please follow the link in the video description. And also if you'd like to look at my photography, I'm a bit of an amateur photographer, then please check out PTG Photography on Facebook. And for future plans about making travel documentaries that I hope to do in the future, then please check out PTG Travel, also on Facebook. Once again, thank you very much for watching.